Hi, I'm Sienna. I'm a counselor here at Mayfield Counseling Centers, and today I want to talk about green flags in relationships. Oftentimes, we end up talking about red flags when we're looking at relationships. Things to look out for, things that might promote a negative space and possibly betrayal or issues in future relationships. But very rarely do we get the opportunity to talk about the green flags in relationships, things to look forward to, things that would promote a healthy, safe environment in future intimate relationships. That's what I want to focus on today, the things that we want in our relationships, the positives, the healthy things that build a close, intimate, vulnerable relationship. If you happen to be watching this video and you are single, please keep watching this. This information is still vitally important to you. Whether you want to apply green flags to friendships or community building, how you interact with family relationships, or if your goal is in the future to have a significant other, this topic is still for you. It's still very important to understand what green flags we want to see in relationships, things that help you build a healthy friendship, help build safe places for you to be open and vulnerable with your friends and community. Of course, when talking about green flags in relationships, the first place we're going to start is with the four horsemen of the apocalypse. This is a theory from the Gottman Institute on Marriage and Family and Relationships. These are negative styles of communication and relationships that research has shown utterly destroys our relationships. The first one is criticism. The second one, contempt. The third one is defensiveness. And the last one is stonewalling. All four of these communication styles are highly negative and impact relationships in a really toxic way. So knowing that the four horsemen are poor communication styles, one of the first things we want is to be able to have open, vulnerable communication. We want people to be able to talk about hard things without feeling like they're being attacked or feeling like they're being blamed for all the negative things in the relationship. This means that we need to foster an environment of gratitude, recognizing the positive things that our partner does or says that encourages and supports us, instead of only focusing on the negative things, blaming, or criticizing their behavior. It's important in different stages of relationships to recognize what kind of green flags you need to be looking for. So prior to jumping into an intimate relationship, what kind of flags do you want to see? One of the most important ones that I look for is a relationship that is a give and a take. I want someone who not only will ask from me to have support, to encourage one another, but also someone who will give to me. Someone who pays attention to how I'm feeling, how I'm doing, who's willing to give verbal encouragement and to figure out the ways that I love so that they're able to feed into that love. That's a really important thing to have at the beginning of your relationship so that you can continue to develop a healthy, vulnerable relationship. One of the other most important things that I look for in the beginning of a relationship is the ability to communicate. Communicate openly. As we get to know each other, oftentimes we'll learn things that are pleasant and unpleasant about each other. We learn about our history, about how things were in our family of origin, and sometimes what we learn is less than pleasant. But if we have good communication skills, we're able to talk about it. We're able to express ourselves fully without feeling any shame or guilt. And we're able to hopefully gain understanding of who that other person really is. That's why it's so important to have strong, healthy communication skills. And wherever you feel like you aren't communicating well, that you take the opportunity to learn and grow in that area. A really key green flag that we need to look for when we are in the midst of a relationship is the building of trust. No relationship is able to exist without occasionally hurting each other or breaking each other's trust. When we hurt each other, it's called a rupture. And then we have to take the time to rebuild trust, rebuild intimacy and vulnerability with each other, and that's called repair. Rupture and repair is something that we do in all relationships, family, friends, intimate relationships, even therapy. So it's a really important skill to have when you're in the midst of a relationship and want to continue supporting the green flags. Even after a relationship has ended, whether through breakup, moving away, etc., it's important to look back and reflect on what things worked in the relationship, what things would you consider green flags that you want to pursue in your future relationships, and not just the bad. Every relationship has some good takeaways, and it's really important that we take time to actually notice them and then look to how we can incorporate them in our future. One of the most important green flags I saw out of a past relationship was the desire to grow as a person. So important that we don't stay where we're at. We all have areas that need to grow, that need to change, that need to get healthier. Whether it's our own personal mental health issues, communication skills, or just planning for your future. It's so important to be with somebody who matches your energy. If you're planning on growing and taking over the world one day, you need a partner who's going to partner with you in that, not someone who's okay with just being where they're at. Another universal green flag that can really be applied across the board in relationships is a person who takes responsibility for themselves. We can look at this from an emotional lens, someone who recognizes that whatever they're feeling is their responsibility and not something to be pushed as blame on someone else. We can look at it in just a physical work kind of situation, school or your occupation. If something doesn't go as planned, do you blame other people or do you take responsibility for the parts that you should own? Anyone who decides to take up responsibility for their behavior, their words, their feelings, those are people that you can really build strong relationship with because they're not going to shove all of their pain, hurt, or negative consequences onto you. They're going to take responsibility and do what's necessary to change for the better. So when looking at green flags, we have to recognize that there are both universal green flags, something that can be applied to every situation, every relationship, and then there's personal green flags, things that are more unique to the person or specific to that particular relationship. But it's really important that we look at the universal green flags, the things that are essential to having a safe, healthy relationship, something that will automatically support long-lasting, caring relationships that help you feel worthy, that help you feel loved. So there's a great deal of universal green flags that we can talk about. And then there's a few of the more personal ones, things that might only apply to myself or to you, but not to everybody. They might help support us in small ways, but not in universal ways that can be counted on. So it's really important when looking at green flags to differentiate between what is universal and what is just specific or personal just to you. Personal green flags can look radically different from relationship to relationship. Some really important ones for me have been about spirituality and faith. I have to be with somebody who comes from the same faith background as myself because it's a very important part of my life. So if I'm going to be in relationship with someone intimately, it needs to be an important part of their life, something that we can talk about, share about, and our values align according to our faith. So that's one personal green flag that is absolutely essential for me. Other personal green flags could be what kind of music or media you consume. If you're somebody who enjoys rock music or horror films and your partner hates all of it, it can make it difficult for you to enjoy time together or be able to just go do something entertaining without it leading to conflict or fighting. Other green flags can be cleanliness and organization. If you are in a home together and you are super, super messy and the other person likes things orderly, clean, not cluttery, that can be a huge source of contention. Yes, we want you to look for green flags in others and focus on them, but we also want you to focus on building those green flags in yourself. If you want to have a partner who communicates well, who's safe, who doesn't blame, you need to be that person as well. Someone who is open to sharing, who's able to be forgiving and not blame, take responsibility for actions, and is willing to change for the better. It's important that you continue to build and grow in that foundation yourself as you look for the green flags in others and build a healthy foundation for relationship overall. You might come to the realization that you are not ready for the relationship. It might be a really painful, disappointing experience, but it's important to recognize where we're at and not lie to ourselves about our readiness to be in a healthy relationship, but accept where we are and use that as the foundation for change. When you look to establish green flags in yourself, it's important to recognize that this gives you power to build healthy relationships and to find a good partner one day to have a significant relationship with. Even if you're single, it's important to focus on bettering yourself, changing for the positive, dealing with past trauma or rupture, and growing as an individual so that when the person comes along who's healthy like you're able to then enter into that relationship. So even if you're single, even if you're currently not looking for a relationship, focus on the growth that you need to have before you're able to be in a healthy relationship in the future. We want to continue the conversation on green flags. It's important for us to understand what things to look for in relationships, what things that we bring positive growth and influence into our relationships. So I hope that with this little bit of information, that this will help spring forward more conversation on things that you look for in your relationships, whether prior to relationships, during relationships, or after. I hope you continue to focus in on the positive, look for the green flags, and build healthy, lasting relationships.